What is up, AFC North football fans, and welcome into another edition of the AFC North Roundtable, powered by BetUS. Week 10 is in the books. Tonight, we turn the page to Week 11. It is one of the best schedules of the season, and the AFC North has a couple of bangers right within it that are going to be tremendous watches. Tonight, we're going to preview all of the games within the AFC North, and the fellas are going to let you know who they think is going to take them home. So in order to get after it, let's bring in those fellas. Mark, Zay, Sam, and Sim. What did I say? Sim? Sim. I should be able to say Zach. Or
Sam mixed with Sim. It's Sim.
I got 3 Z's in here, including myself. You'd think I'd be able to pronounce the letter Z, but apparently after 27 years of doing it, I'm still not that great at it.
It's a long day, bro.
It is. It is. Hopefully it's not a long weekend for you guys. Unfortunately, though, it's going to have to be a long weekend for either Sam or Mark because those two play each other. We'll talk about that game in just a minute. But let's start with the Cleveland Browns coming off of their bye. Right now on BetUS, if we take a peek, the Browns currently are at a pick'em with the New Orleans Saints. Browns on the road against the Saints. The Browns are coming off of their bye. The Saints are coming off of a somewhat surprising win over the Falcons after just firing their head coach. So this one, quite literally on BetUS, is anybody's ball game. By the way, this game and all of the Week 11 games are up on BetUS right now. You can get in on those games using the promo code YouTube150. That'll get you 150% sign-up bonus, up to $2,000 on your first deposit, and 125% bonus on your next two after that. All right, fellas. So BetUS has this game as a pick'em, basically a coin toss. It kind of feels that way. Both teams have a couple of elements of, their team that can strike when they're hot. Depends on who winds up coming out and showing that element and kind of getting over the top between these two teams. So, Mark, I'll start with you. It's the Browns. They're well rested. The Saints, their coach just fired, and they come off of a somewhat surprising W. Your thoughts on this game and who takes it?
I've got a bit of a change of heart. I'm actually really a big believer in the Browns. I think they can still make the playoffs. And here's how. So if the Patriots lose, the New York Jets and Colts tie, the Dolphins lose, the Bengals lose, and the Broncos lose, you're only 2 games away from the wild card. There you go, Browns fans.
Sign me up.
Is that what you want? Nah, look, this is crazy. I don't know who you go on this one. I don't know what the Browns are almost pretty much toast in the AFC, but it is pretty wide open in that for that 7th that seed spot, and who's going to run the next 8 games. They could put it together, and this is probably for Zay and his Browns. This step is going to New Orleans and beating the Saints. But the Saints were a funny team too, because they were at the very start of the season, won 2 games in a row, 48 points or whatnot, and they've just absolutely fallen off the edge of the cliff. So I know it sounds crazy. I do want the Browns to lose, of course, but I think the Browns can win this game with their defense. And if they play solid ball and don't turn the ball over on offense, like every football team should, I think they chip away and get back into the AFC conversation. However, they do need teams to fall over, like I said. So Browns can win this game just based off by their defense.
So you got the Browns taking it.
Mm-hmm.
All right, Zim, how about you? Who wins it, Browns or Saints?
It's a tough one.
Damn. Oh, I was going to say he froze.
It's a tough one. Saints looked a little better recently. I don't know. I think that a lot of teams have trouble with the Browns secondary. I think that the Saints could too. They're kind of in sell mode themselves too. I don't know. This is gonna be a nasty game. This is gonna be a nasty game, bro. But I'm gonna go Browns on this one. I think the Saints on BetUS are favored by 1 at home. So, yeah, I'm gonna say that I guess they think that they're the better team. If you look at ESPN matchup predictors, they have it 50-50. So I'm gonna go Browns on this one. I got them winning by 3 points.
2 for 2 on the Browns. Sam, you making it 3 for 3?
I am. I think that Winston going back and play the Saints team that he has some history with, I think that might build them up a little bit and get the job done. I think that secondary of the Browns is fantastic, and I think that team will have problems with it, like Zim said. So give me the Browns. It's going to be, like Zim said, a rough game for sure. But give me the Browns. I like Nick Chubb. I think that he's going to get a little bit better with the knee injury that he's going through, and I think that the secondary is enough to hold the Saints off. I'll take the Browns.
As long as Kamara gives me my fantasy points, I'm good to go.
I know it's getting down to the wire. Only a few weeks left before fantasy playoffs. It's getting real tight in my league. I don't know about you guys, but the pressure's certainly on. Zay, 3 for 3 on the Browns. You completing the sweep here or what?
I mean, I don't have a choice but to complete the sweep. Well, I don't know what we're doing. Like, maybe it is just the fact that Jameis Winston is going back to New Orleans, and they're like, okay, we'll give you this one, and then we gonna go to DTR. But like, this is another sign that kind of points to me that they're not giving up on the season, which is crazy to say. And I know I'm not going to convince myself that they're going to talk, like, at the very least, like Mark said, we can talk ourselves into the conversation. But until I can see them string together 4 in a row, that conversation it's not happening. So I'm curious to see how this team responds out of the bye week. It's going to be very interesting knowing you've got guys publicly talking about making business decisions. That was the craziest thing I've ever heard come out of a football player's mouth. I mean, football players make business decisions, but you got Jedrick Wills coming out and saying that. So I'm anxious to see DeJuan Jones take another step at that left tackle position because he can ultimately get himself a contract. And I think the Browns they're playing this like a true chessboard. They're sacrificing a win here. I don't think they love a quarterback in this draft because if they did, they'd be going with DTR. They'd be going full tank mode. And like I said, man, they win this week and they find a way to go into another divisional opponent, win again. They'll talk themselves into the conversation and maybe save some jobs along the way. But until I see it, I'm going to have to be forced to pick them to win again this week because you don't come out of a bye week with Jameis Winston if you don't have any intentions on winning.
Wow, the rare Browns sweep. How about it? Everyone's got them taking down the Saints this upcoming Sunday. All right, fellas, we got a major interdivisional battle this upcoming Sunday. One of the games of the day, certainly the best game in the 1 p.m. window. Right now on BetUS, the Baltimore Ravens are a 3-point road favorite against the Pittsburgh Steelers. This game isn't just for a Week 11 dub. This game is for first place in the AFC North. It could go a long way towards determining who ends up winning it when it's all said and done. The Steelers are 7-2. The Ravens are 7-3. A lot on the line in this game. Zim, I'll start with you. It's a huge one. Your Bengals just had a grudge match against these Ravens. It was super close to the end, as most AFC North games are. How do you anticipate this one going? Can the Steelers keep it hot, or do the Ravens keep it rolling?
I look at the history of this matchup. It's a lot like like Bengals have a problem with the Browns. Bengals now have a big problem with the Ravens. It hadn't been like that, but now they do, whatever. Lamar's record, I think, versus the Steelers, I think it's 2-4 or something like that.
2-4. Yep.
2-4. And I don't think the Steelers, and those are bad Steelers teams. This to me is the better version of the Steelers that I don't even know when's the last time I don't know since Ben. Like, I haven't seen this version of them. And watching what the Bengals did early in that game, it makes me feel like in both games against Derrick Henry, both of those games, the first one he had 40 yards through 4 quarters. The second one he only had 60 yards total in the whole game or whatever. I know that the Steelers' run defense is much better than ours. I think that they can do something right there. And if they follow some of the game plan from that and they have faster linebacker speed, kind of reminiscent of that the Chiefs game week 1, I think he has a bigger problem because they have better coverage too. And I just think the Steelers have the recipe and they're literally built to match up and beat like the Ravens. And I think the Ravens ultimately probably are a better team when you look at the totality of the Pro Bowlers and All Pros. But I think like for this in-division matchup, this is the one team that I think is constructed to take out Lamar Jackson and the Baltimore Ravens. I'm going to go with the Steelers in this one by 4 points.
Zay, what say you? Who takes it, Pittsburgh or Baltimore?
Y'all know me. I go to this every trip. It says here that the Pittsburgh Steelers are at home. Mark, that's correct?
Correct.
They're underdogs by 3 or whatever it is.
Like 1 or 2, something like that.
That don't fly with me. Like, as much as I want the Ravens to blow the doors off the Steelers. I just feel like y'all need some humble pie. Like y'all really need some like, you know how in iRobot or in Men in Black, he's like, you need pie. Y'all need some humble.
That pie's been cooking for 10 weeks now.
That's what I'm saying.
That hasn't happened yet, mate. It's getting burnt.
It's gonna taste lovely once y'all get it, and I'm hoping that the Ravens could do that to y'all. But I mentioned it in the show earlier. I something scares me with this Steeler team. It seems like everything's flowing their way. Like you said, Z, on the show as well. If you don't believe in momentum and you don't watch the NFL, momentum is a real thing right now. And these boys, everything is going the way that they want. And when you got crazy George Pickens in line and you got Najee running the ball good, you got Russell Wilson turning back the clock, you got Mike Tomlin playing chess games and getting them to do the dumbest thing ever. Your special teams is good. The defense is one of the best. Like, man, watch out, dude. So underdogs at home, Sam, I want y'all to win, but my theory is I can never go against the Steelers when they're underdogs. For some reason, they always find a way to win. So I hate doing this, damn it, but give me the Steelers at home on a game-winning field goal.
Mike Tomlin is one of the best underdog coaches at home in the league, really, in NFL history. So wise move in terms of basing it on that element, Zay. Mark, I'll start with you because right now you are at the top of the division. The question is, will you be at the top of the division when we all come together next week to recap what we saw between these Steelers and the Ravens?
I think, the last few years, the Steelers versus Ravens have had their number in the 7-1s, and there's been quarterbacks out for the Ravens and certain different things happening as well. I don't know what that. Do you guys hear that beep, or is that just me?
It scared the hell out of me.
I was pressing the cough button. That's my fault.
I thought that was. Anyways, so yeah, Steelers and Ravens have had their number, right? Last few years, right? It's always a crazy matchup. Mike Tom will have these fellas to go. On the injury side, they're going to be missing Alex Highsmith, but they're getting Herbig back. And Preston Smith has been playing. He played good football in his first game. The offense is getting back together, and they're all believing in Russell Wilson. They're believing in getting points and getting points down the field. Defense is on fire. Team's on fire. But I do want to go to a stat because I still can't. I mentioned this the other day that the Steelers play Ravens really different to everyone else. And I've got the stat that I found from Dell Lawley. He's like our Steelers guy in the media. He says, this is Lamar Jackson versus opponent's career versus starter, right? Here it's got 1 and 3, but if it's 2 and 3, then that's fine. Let's say it's 2 and 3. Versus Steelers is 2 and 3. Team points per game is 19.8. Passing TD is 4 and 7. Giveaway is 2.5 and 66.3. Now, for some reason, versus all the other opponents is like times 10 that. Like the Steelers have his number in going back with football and stats and all those kind of things. Lamar Jackson is 64 and 19 versus other opponents, 29 points per game, 144-40 the TD interception, and giveaway 0.7 and pass rating 103. So the Steelers do match up very well with terms of, outside linebackers and if JPJ can take away their receiver, force them to run, and then you have Atlanta Roberts and Patrick Queen coming in to make tackles, then yeah, they match up really well and they can slow Lamar Jackson down. But this, to me, to give a bit of respect and credit to the Ravens, they're a good fucking football side. You can't go behind what they've done this year, being 7 and 3, running the rock with Derrick Henry. He's leading TDs. If they get in front, here's how I'm taking the Steelers, but here's how the Ravens win it. If the Ravens get in front by 14, 10 points, and they start to run bloody Derrick Henry, he takes over the game, then the Pittsburgh Steelers are in trouble. We have been letting up in the run game a fair bit. They disallowed that Giants player 140 yards who no one knew about, Tracy someone Jr., right? So if the Ravens get in front by 10 points and they can take the momentum out of the game, that's the stands and the towels aren't waving, they've got to play 4 or 5 Renegades in the stadium, and the Ravens up by 10, 17 points. I'm not too sure just yet if the Steelers can come back to go point for point with the Ravens. They got to make one of these games a 13-10 game, a 16-13 game, a 10-7 game, where it's so boring for like the average NFL fans, but for the diehard crazies, it's one of the best games out there with defense and tip passes and all those kind of things, and frustrate Lamar Jackson and don't allow him to run the football, take away the run, and then hopefully, spy Lamar Jackson. But I am worried that if the Jackson-led Ravens go down the field and score points on points on points, can the Steelers match that? If they can't, they'll go back to their bruising game of running Derrick Henry, and it could almost be, not an upset because we are the underdog, but the Ravens can win this game if they go that path. But I do have the Steelers actually winning by, I think, 6 points. I think we have two field goals, and it comes down to Lamar Jackson trying to win the game.
Sam, you can be at the top of this division if you get it done on Sunday. Are you gonna get it done on Sunday?
Yeah, I think so. I think the Ravens get it done. I'm actually pretty confident in this game. I think the one thing that if you're a Ravens fan, you need to watch out for is how the Steelers play TJ Watt. Usually they line him on the right side where Rosengarten would be. But I think what a lot of these teams have had success against this offense have done is use their premier pass rusher and have him in the interior. I think sometimes they have TJ Watt in the middle of that defense against that center. And I think they did that a little bit against the Commanders. But usually they have TJ Watt on the outside. And I think if the Steelers are smart, they'll try and take advantage of the interior of that line. And I think that may be their recipe. But to Mark's point, if the Ravens get off to a 10-point lead, this game's over. The Ravens are going to run the football, something they weren't able to do against the Bengals because the Bengals had a 14-point lead for the majority of the middle of the second half. So I think the Ravens will need to jump off early. I want to see, and I mentioned this on the show earlier, I want to see what this offense can do with Russell Wilson. If he can give this Steelers team a 10-point lead, a 7-point lead, then it becomes dangerous because those guys can go on the Steelers defense. They can get after the quarterback, and no one has struggled more against the Steelers than Lamar Jackson. You read off those stats. I just don't think that this is the same quarterback that the Steelers have played in the past. This is not the same offense. The last time the Steelers played Lamar Jackson, it was still a type of Greg Roman offense, even though that first game, a lot of it has to do with drops, passes by the receivers. I know Ravens fans talk about that all the time. And that's part of the game. I think the Ravens have to own that they dropped those passes. You can't use that as an excuse as why we lost to the Steelers. But I think this go around, it's a different offense, a different beast that the Steelers have to go against the Ravens, and they'll have to play the Ravens differently than they did in previous years. I don't think they can just sit back and dare Lamar Jackson to beat him with his arm. I think Tomlin's smart enough to know that Lamar has that capability. So I'm very interested to see what the Steelers do in this game. I'm still confident in this game because I don't have that trust and faith in Russell Wilson yet, but this can easily go the Steelers' way. Russell Wilson shows what he did last week against the Commanders. Again, I don't think it happens like that. Give me the Ravens winning it by 10 points.
Do you think they'll put Wiggins on Pickens?
No, I don't.
You don't think so?
They should. They should have done it against the Bengals. They are very steadfast in keeping Marlon Humphrey in the middle, Nate Wiggins and Brandon Stevens on the outside. They don't move those guys. They stay where they are, and that's why teams like the Bengals are able to take advantage and put Chase wherever Humphrey's not, wherever Wiggins is not. That's why you saw a lot of Chase against Stevens because the Ravens play a very simple based defense, and offense is going to take advantage.
From one great game to another, let's move to Sunday night football. Game got flexed to being under the lights because there's a lot on the line in SoFi Sunday night. Cincinnati Bengals currently a 1-point dog on the road against the Chargers right now on BetUS. Here is what is at stake, folks. Right now for these Bengals, if they win the ball game, they have a 40% chance to win the playoffs. Currently, they have a 27% chance to make the playoffs. If they lose the game, they have a 15% chance to make the playoffs. This is as much of a must-win game as you can possibly get. And right now, the Chargers currently occupy the 6th spot in the AFC playoff picture. So the Bengals, if they want to make things interesting, and they certainly can, it has to start on Sunday night against Justin Herbert, a top-tier defense in the Chargers, and Harbaugh, who's really had these guys playing a hell of a lot differently than we saw a season ago. Mark, I'm going to start with you. The Bengals, they did everything they could last week to get it done against the Ravens. They came up a point shy. Are they going to be able to get out of SoFi Stadium Sunday with a W and stay alive in these playoffs?
I don't know. This is like another. It seems like the Bengals in this season have been in so many 50-50 games. You know what I mean? It seems like it's like the same one with the Eagles too. I thought going into that, the Bengals had a chance. Going into the Ravens, they had a chance. The Chargers defense is really good with Joe Bosa and those fellas out there. That they're coached well by Harbaugh. And they got the good running game and who's the Herbert's a quarterback and stuff like the J.K. Dobbins. So this is another one where the Bengals obviously they win this game. A few teams lose, or you go on a bit of a run, and you're talking yourself back into the playoffs to be a seven seed or 6. So I think I said it before. Every time I see a Bengals matchup, I keep going by 3 points one way or the other. And maybe that's why they are a 4-6 team. And we talked about in the other show that Joe Burrow is having MVP career numbers, but at the same time, Lamar Jackson's having similar numbers or a bit better and winning games where the Bengals aren't winning games. So I'm actually, look, I know it's crazy choosing them. Wait a minute. Hold up. Chargers. I'm going Chargers. Going Chargers by three or 4 points. But I think the Bengals, honest goodness, to Zim's credit, I think the Bengals can win this game. They can win this game and chip away at the wild card standings. There's 8 weeks left. We've got Netflix coming up with like the AFC North special, right? That's coming up very soon. And the Browns are going to talk themselves back into a few wins into the wild card division. You go and beat the Chargers, Kim them down one step. Bengals, they can throw TDs, they can offense, all that kind of stuff. They just got to get a little bit of luck going their way and they can win the game. So I've got Chargers winning by 3 or 4 points at home, but it's going to be a fun game. They couldn't move the Ravens versus Steelers for some reason, but this is the next best thing to move this game up. Like, it's going to be a great game.
Zay, talk to me. Who gets it done under the lights on Sunday?
It's so hard to analyze the Bengals. Like, Zim, I respect you. Hats off this year, brother, because I know what type of person, I know what type of sauce you like to bring for your team, and I just can't imagine like how you spin this and how you, like you said, like I know Bengals fans going crazy because the Browns fans was in a situation. I can only imagine what the Bengals fans going through right now. So it's so hard to really put a finger on it because you would be like, okay, well, what's the problem? Maybe it's quarterback play. Maybe it's this. And it's just like, I don't know. Joe Burrow's got 2,600 passing yards, 24 touchdowns, and 4 interceptions. And Jamar Chase has 66 receptions and damn near 1,000 yards and 10 touchdowns. Like, there's no way they should be losing these games. So they're going to need, like Mark said, some kind of luck to string this rut out of it. But I don't see them losing this game. I think the only way I see them losing this game is if this turns into the 2020 showdown between Justin Herbert and Burrow, and they come out on the unlucky end of it again. Like, it's not anything that Joe Burrow and this offense is particularly doing to sell them. So I would feel foolish to pick against them. Give me the Bengals, and give me the Bengals by, I don't know, 6.
Sam, what are you thinking? Bengals staying alive on Sunday, making things interesting?
And, I got Lamar Jackson as the best quarterback in the league, and I have Joe Burrow just a couple of notches below at number 2. I love what I've seen from this guy the last 2 games. He played the Ravens. It's just been a very masterful performance. I even think without Jamar Chase, Joe Burrow would have had success in that game to play with the Ravens just because of the way Joe Burrow has been throwing the football. I'm going with the Chargers. I think that the run game will be too much for the Bengals defense. I think that's going to be the game plan. Keep the ball away from Joe Burrow's hands. I think he's earned that much respect. It's going to be up to that Bengals defense. Can the Bengals win this game? Absolutely. But it's going to be up to that Bengals defense to slow that running game down and give the ball to your quarterback and give him a chance to win your football game. I don't see it happening that way. I'm just not convinced yet with that run defense. But they could show us something and potentially get that job done. Give me the Chargers by a point, but don't be surprised if the Bengals come out on top in this one, which would make me very upset.
All right, Zim, let's hear it. What's happening on Sunday night? What's going to be the narrative we discuss next week when we recap it?
I think we finally break out of that weird instant classic. I think you have a showdown. I think the Bengals quietly have put together a top 10. They're currently ranked 11th or 10th in run defense. I don't care. I want the Chargers to run the ball. Herbert in the last couple of weeks has been one of the higher graded quarterbacks in the NFL. Also, the rookie Thule has been killing people. He's got like 6 sacks over like the last couple of weeks or something like that. So the weakness of the Bengals is the interior, and I am a little bit afraid of that. But Herbert, our coverage unit, I don't know, man. I still respect Herbert. I think that he gets a bad rap. I'm like one of them guys. I don't really think Trevor Lawrence is really anything. I think Herbert really has this season for the Bengals remind me of Herbert's career, where you got a bad defense and you got this guy that's like putting up these numbers, but the defense never really compliments him at any point. And for the first time, he has a good defense that's complimenting him. So now he has like a winning record. Them running the ball, I think that would be a recipe for them. Like, that would be letting us off the hook. I think if they attack us in the intermediates and they throw the ball with him, I think that he could, like we got a shootout Sunday night. I think the Bengals win this game. Currently, right now, the Bengals have the number one guy in passing yards, touchdowns, top 5 completion percentage, number 2 in quarterback rating, have the number 1 wide receiver in Triple Crown, receptions, touchdowns, yards, and have the defensive player with the most sacks in the National Football League. This has never happened in the history of football where that same team has had a losing record. The Bengals are 2-3 in games that they scored 33 points. The teams that have scored 33 points this season are 29-1. The Bengals have to break out of this weird widow rut this is and go and figure out a way to get it. T. Higgins is practicing today. I think he's back. Orlando Brown, who didn't play this past week either, is practicing or at practice as well too. I think the Bengals pull this one out by 4 points.
Ooh, baby. I can't wait for that one. Tons of good games this upcoming Sunday. There you have it, folks.
The games. You know the Eagles, Commanders, you guys, and
that's right. Yeah, Thursday night's another banger. I know it. Yeah, Thursday night's great. Sunday, there's a ton of games. Obviously, we got that, your 2 guys' games there. We got Bills, Chiefs. We have a big game in the NFC West as well. I believe the Niners and the Seahawks, right? So huge week.
Texas on Monday Night Football.
That's right. So we got a ton of great football this upcoming weekend, and we don't have it's crazy. It's starting to really heat up here. It's starting to really get down to the wire, and all of these games matter more than ever right now. And I cannot wait to come back with you guys next week to recap everything that you guys all just predicted. It's going to be a blast. You're going to want to make sure to tune into that one, and the best way to do it is to hit that subscribe button on the way out the door. That way we can notify you of all of our upcoming episodes, including the Week 11 recap episode next week. Also on your way out the door, like button if you'd be so kind. And all of these Week 11 lines are currently up on BetUS. Go get in on them using the promo code YouTube150. That'll get you 150% sign-up bonus up to $2,000 on your first deposit and 125% bonus on your next 2 after that. For Mark, Zay, Zim, and Sam, I'm your host, Z-Bot. Thanks so much for tuning in to the AFC North Roundtable, and we'll see you on the next one.
Here we go, Cat.